Hey everyone, welcome to the Project Borealis development stream. I think this is the third development stream we've done, and I'm pretty excited to be showing you a bit more of what we've been doing. I'm joined by the programming team today. Mastercoms and Kilowatt are going to be working in Unreal Engine, going to be poking around with some weapons, showing some snow modification, and generally showing you what we've been up to recently. So thanks for joining me, guys.
Thank you for the opportunity to show our work.
What are you guys going to be playing around with?
Well, I'm going to be showing off the weapon system. We're working on a modular system for it so that weapons are sort of completely customizable.
Cool. So that means you kind of just like edit things on the fly and figure out exactly how to balance them quite easily. Is that the idea?
Yeah, so we can customize the weapons within the game and adjust behavior however we want.
Awesome. So what are you going to be working on in this stream with that then?
So we're gonna be working on the shotgun primarily. We'll probably be playing around a bit, having some fun, but also doing some important work.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you get underway and just say to everyone that if you have any questions about Project Borealis as a whole or about anything you're seeing today, the programming side of things and Unreal Engine, feel free to stick them in chat and I'll pass them along. Maybe while Comms is getting starting on some work, Kilowatt, do you want to talk a little bit about what you work on the project and some things that people might have seen from you in the development updates?
Absolutely. So basically, I'm responsible for the snow system. I guess the entire concept of working so hard on the snow is obviously I was expecting the entire game to have this breathtaking sort of Arctic environment, and I sort of committed myself to making sure the snow system reflects that. I guess I don't know, commitment. So the big thing
I
about
hate
snow.
to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but Comms has just fired an Alex out of the shotgun, and I feel like we need to talk about this.
It's quite the feature, actually.
What? Why is the shotgun firing Alex's?
I mean, I just thought that would be a great way to show how we can customize.
So basically, you've taken the shotgun and just quickly edited it so it fires like a different model. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Big think.
And
I think this should make it into the full game. I don't know about anyone else.
No, I entirely agree. But yeah, just to wrap up what I was saying about the snow system, the whole idea is it just deforms. You might have seen stuff like that. I'm thinking like Red Dead 2, God of War, I think has it. So, we're hoping to have that sort of quality with the snow.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think we've shown it in a full development update yet, but if you guys saw the NoClip documentary that we're part of last month, then you might have seen a bit of that, a bit of the head crab kind of walking around in the snow, and we'll play around a bit more with that snow a bit later on. Comes, you just want to talk a little bit about what you're doing here, modifying the weapon?
Yeah, so I'm changing the projectile back to the grenade. And we're gonna customize the shotgun to shoot multiple grenades. So here there's a variable for times to fire that will determine how many times the fire function is activated.
So is this when you're working in Unreal? Is a lot of the game kind of modified like this? How much of it is kind of like straight pure code like people might expect, and how much of it is, you've put some code in and now you get to just sort of tweak around with the numbers and the drop down menus and things?
Okay, so there's a lot of backend code that went into allowing us to customize everything really easily. But now that we have all that setup, it's going to be mostly just customizing value.
Awesome. And so you can kind of like quickly iterate on things and figure out what feels right.
Yeah, like we don't even have to restart the level. We can just, while we're in combat, adjust pretty much any sort of behavior for the weapon while we're fighting or while we're in the level, and that will help a lot with balance. And also in the actual game, we're planning to make those customization features available for everyone.
Awesome. So kind of mod support? Is that what you're hinting at?
Well, that's the tentative thing, but no promises that that's what we're aiming for here.
Awesome. Some questions in the chat I'm seeing. This is a bit about level design. People are asking if we're using BSP or static meshes. I don't know if that's something you guys know about, or if that's more of a level design question.
I can answer it if you want, or
Yeah.
comms. I think, and I could be wrong. Maybe comms have something different to say about it, but we don't intend to use like BSP on this map in particular. It's static mesh for the terrain, but BSP for like the little platform and the walls. But as far as I know, the level designers are committed to like basically proper modern practice. No more BSP. Although in the event you wanted to make a map in the future, there's nothing stopping you from using it. Unreal still has that support.
Cool. Yeah, and I think we'll have level design on the stream at some point in the future. I don't think we've decided exactly what's going to be next month, but maybe it'll be level design, and we can show you how we're building some of the full levels for Epistle 3 for Project Borealis.
They're doing some amazing work.
Yeah, there's some exciting things. I don't want to commit to anything, but update 5, we might be showing some progress on an actual Epistle 3 level.
I have to say that you have the absolute fortune or misfortune, depending on the way you look at it, of looking at a absolutely perfect programmer level. So take that
I think
for what you will.
Apart from Ravenholm, I think this is mostly what we've shown off so far, right? When we've been playing around with the game, it's just these levels that the programmers throw together to test things.
Yeah, and as you can see here, just adjust how many times the shotgun fires. It's a little field here.
So does this make it fairly easy to add like completely new weapons to the game?
Yeah.
And I guess when I say completely new, I don't necessarily mean like new in addition to Half-Life 2, but when you're porting those weapons over from Half-Life 2, gives you that level of customization and iteration that you can play around with, right? Wow, that is quite the shotgun.
Oh man. I think something I'd like to say about this is it's really helpful. I mean, you see that we don't even have to exit the game or even stop the play session to be able to edit these values. And a big part of the project, as I understand it, is oh no, work in progress. But yeah, it makes it really handy for us to be able to really quickly adjust values and get these sort of trial and error things we have to do to really closely emulate Half-Life 2 in the episodes. I know it's been very handy, especially in a case like this.
Not so much in a case where Unreal crashes. But yeah,
to give comms some credit here. The system is pretty much brand new, so it's actually completely different from anything that has been in the prior videos. So
the work in progress. And another cool thing about it is it's pretty much entirely animation based. So if you go into the shotgun, reload, we can customize everything exactly here. So let's just slow it down so we get a better look.
That's some dramatic reloading.
Yeah, so here we can customize when we want the sound to play exactly.
Oh, so this is syncing up the animation to the audio.
Yeah, so have it play pretty late into the thing, so you can just drag that over, play it again, see. Well, does that seem good now?
We should definitely make Gordon reload the slow when he's about to go to the Combine homeworld. He's like, I'm about to kick some ass.
Oh, we can go here, change the play rate to 0.1. And I believe we can change this in no time.
Yeah, as a complete non-programmer, I find it kind of amazing how you're just able to so quickly change things without, like, I don't know, recompiling things or rerunning things or spending a whole bunch of time implementing them. You can just edit that on the fly.
Okay, so as you can see, the animation is slower, but change it.
The shotgun's a little too hot. He's afraid to touch it.
Keegan says, let's be honest, all Gordon needs to destroy the whole universe is a shotgun.
I mean, if it fires explosive Alexes, I have to agree. And I mean, in theory, you could make it shoot anything. I mean,
so Mr. Gunschlinger says that we shouldn't solve this using animations. We should use timers like they did in Source, so that if an animation doesn't play, then the weapon could get stuck. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, our thought process behind making it animation based is that the feedback that the player sees visually is going to be through the animation. So when you use an animation to base things off of weapon behavior, what happens is everything syncs up to the visuals a lot better.
Sure, that makes sense.
And
oh, go
on. As far as the animation not playing or something like that, we haven't found that to be an issue because I don't think you can cancel the animations, at least in our system.
Right, that makes sense. CZN asks if the snow system is our own or if it's something that's inside Unreal Engine 4.
so the snow system is not something that's built into Unreal Engine. However, I can say it is based off of a game developer conference talk. If anyone, I think it was whichever Batman game came for Arkham Knight, they put out a paper about how they did footprints on the roofs and stuff. And that's sort of where we got the inspiration. That system has been expanded to work a little bit more complex. For example, if you only sort of have the snow or gravity gun punt it into it, it's going to leave like a perfectly accurate trail of exactly physically where it was, which I don't think existed in the Batman game.
That's cool. Yeah, I was super impressed when I first saw it in game. It's one of those things I feel like we talked about a lot, and like, you know, we were looking at other games like God of War or Red Dead as they came out. We were like, oh, we really need that.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, considering the game takes place in the Arctic, I feel like it would be a disservice, you know, to have. I mean, Unreal helps make effects like these much more easily accomplishable. So why not? You know.
Yeah, for sure.
I see someone's asking about footprints. So the beauty of the system, actually, and I don't want to talk at length until we really get to it, but it's actually really easy to add things like footprints and things like that. And I'll explain why later.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll do a bit of a deeper dive on the snow system in a bit. Gunsepsi asks if the game is programmed in C++, and if you have any suggestions for places to learn C++.
Well, yeah, the game are C++ code. At C++, we do pretty much 100% of the programming in C++. As for learning, I just learned from the Unreal documentation. And that probably won't work for everyone because I already had a lot of prior experience for programming, so it wasn't that hard to learn Unreal C.
Yeah, something to note for anyone who's probably just wanting to learn C++ or just starting programming. Unreal is C++, but it's got its own sort of system going on with the reflection system, and you wouldn't find like it's got its own arrays and everything like that if you're familiar with that, and it's got its like own sort of ecosystem. So honestly, like Com said, though, Unreal has some pretty darn good tutorials, so follow those and you can probably really easily get a feel for things.
Cool. There was a question from chat, and I've just completely lost it. Where has it gone? Oh, Mr. Yoga asked if running the game inside Unreal Engine with all the the engine modification stuff around it, does that demand more from your computer compared to just like running the game by itself once it's built?
Yeah, it does. The editor has a lot of optimizations turned off so that you can debug things better.
Cool. Nate asks if we're recording these streams to watch later. Yes, they should all be automatically archived on YouTube. You can go back and look at the music and concept art streams that we did in the past couple months right now. And this one should be the same. So you can go back and flick through it later if you want. And I'm sure there'll be people out there who'll kind of go back and look through every little word on the screen and figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, I totally expect everyone to just pick apart this video.
Mr. Gunschlinger asks why we chose to move all the gun code into components instead of using inheritance, which is not a question I understand most of the words of, but maybe you can explain.
Oh yeah, so the reason why we moved to components is that we want to decouple a lot of the code so that we can reuse it, even if weapons don't necessarily inherit from one another. So, for example, for the shotgun, we're using primary fire code, double fire code. So there are components and they share a common ammo type which has a fire function built to the hitscan ammo type. And what this allows us to do is share a lot of the different functionality between different behaviors without like having a really complicated inheritance tree. So, for example, another case, let's say that we have the shotgun, right? And we base all of our weapons off of the shotgun code with inheritance. The SMG would just override the secondary function and replace it with the SMG grenade. But that isn't a very useful use of inheritance. So it's much better to use sort of this is like a pseudo entity component system so that we can just plug and play different functionalities as needed without having to really worry about inheritance and sharing code.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, let us know if that answers your question. If you have any more questions at that level that mostly go over my head, then feel free.
Killowatt, do you want to talk more about like what went into programming render targets and materials for the snow?
Yeah, so basically, just a sort of mini recap from before, the snow is designed to basically take imprints from objects, or like player footprints or anything like that, to a very accurate degree. And the way that is really quite simple. So basically, the way it works is you stick a camera underneath the level, and you do sort of like a two-pass system. You take a regular depth snapshot of the scene, and just to really quickly explain that, we're basically like taking a picture of how far away the sort of ground is from underneath the ground, and it'll make sense here in a minute. On top of that, we have a separate pass that only renders the depth or the distance from the camera of the objects. And basically that just boils down to we can compare the distance of the terrain to the objects, and from there all we got to do is do a simple calculation, and we can tell how deep it is in the snow, and that gives us the cool effect. Obviously there are some, I'm sure if anyone has in the chat has used Unreal, they're familiar with the material system. We just basically slap a texture on it, and that's just how it works. If you want, we can look at like rolling the barrels down the hill or something, just to show that off. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
I see someone said, will the snow be able to dynamically make drifts and have gaps and footprints slowly get covered over? So yes, unfortunately, not on this test level. It's not being demonstrated, but in the previous iteration of the snow, we already had a sort of snow propagation system. And all that really is if later when we show the render targets, we basically slowly revert the changes that objects have made in the snow. So you can expect to see, if it's like a snowstorm or something like that, that objects will slowly, or their trails will slowly get removed. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think you're about to read exactly the same question I was.
Does having a second camera result in a large performance decrease?
Yeah.
So the optimal situation for this, or just to answer the question directly, is it really shouldn't, because although the cost of rendering the sort of scene from below, again, that seems kind of expensive. In theory, it should only be as expensive as like a single light source, since if anyone's familiar with how sort of like lights work in Unreal. They sort of capture the depth from where the light is looking. So if you're familiar with how that works, it works in almost a very similar way. But we can hopefully say that it shouldn't have a very high cost, no. But for computers that can't really handle heavy effects, we do intend to have like a lower, like reduced complexity simulation that should help.
Also, as part of our engine fork, we're able to adjust the capture rate to be like every 4th frame, which should improve performance on lower end machines.
Neat. I've seen a few questions about future modifications to the snow, like whether barrels on fire will melt it. Obviously footprints. Do you have a sense of like what other improvements we're planning to make to the snow system?
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that it's actually really easy to sort of add things that affect the snow. And so just before I get to the comment specifically, like for example, for footprints, all we really got to do is add basically a invisible sphere or like set of shoes that go up and down and right into this, and that is some fat snow. One of our older demos actually had the snow cranked up to this extremely high level, but it's kind of just for the testing purposes. But where was I? Yeah, you can basically write into that, as I mentioned before, there's the second pass, which sort of takes the distance of all the objects above the ground. We can arbitrarily add things. Wow,
what
that
have
is
you done, comms?
But yeah, I think I lost where I was. Basically, what it boils down to is anything that you can render in Unreal, you can add to this sort of second depth pass, and it will be imprinted in the snow. As far as fire goes, or if like a barrel explodes, all we have to do is sort of wisely or smartly, however you want to put it, do stuff like that, whether it's visible to the player or not. For example, we can make the fire particles themselves right into the buffer, and it will affect the snow. I know a lot of people are fans of that sort of like systematic environmental effect. I think Breath of the Wild has something like that. We intend to try to pay attention to detail like that, I think.
A few people are asking about the choice of engine, why we chose to use Unreal or why we're not using Source. Could either of you kind of give the short version of why we're using Unreal over the Source engine?
Do you want me to answer? Or?
Well, I mean, it's been kind of beaten to death at this point, but Unreal is just like it has a lot more features to our disposal, and it's also like a lot easier to just iterate on things.
On the point of it being done to death, I'm going to link your incredibly long Reddit Ask Me Anything summary, because I think that says everything that we could possibly say on the subject. So if you want to learn more about why we're using Unreal, go and check out that Reddit comment.
Just to add on to that, just trust that we put a lot of thought into the decision.
Yeah.
By no means is it just like on a whim. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We get questions about this literally every day, asking why we're using Unreal, and like so much concern from the community that it's not going to feel the same. So yeah, it's like a huge priority for us to make sure that it feels right.
If you want comms, if you go to the file browser, go to like the maps dev_snow temp, there should be the RT capture, and we can sort of show a visualization of what that buffer sort of sees, or at least what we've written to it. and that can give a pretty good visualization. It's under temp.
So this is showing what the camera sees when it's trying to draw that snow deformation.
Yeah. So this actually works live too. So if you wanted to put it to one side, but you can even see like there's the 3 boxes being imprinted, and things like that. It might be hard to see on the stream, but if you were to sort of hover an object sort of halfway between the ground and like how high the snow is, you'd notice that it leaves a sort of like 0.5 or like a halfway, or another value based on exactly how deep it basically went into the snow.
Mm. Oh, that's cool to see it happening on the side there.
One of my favorite things to do actually for testing this is if you like punt a barrel into the ground, and this is part of I mentioned it earlier, but it'll wobble, and you can see exactly how it like bounced off the ground and everything like this. And so it might not seem like a big deal, but part of the goals of the system is to have artist flexibility as well. I think a lot of artists or level designers or even people who want to go mod the game would really enjoy to be able to sort of like paint into the snow sort of in the editor to sort of give locations like their own little extra layer of story and things like that. If you can imagine like you wanted to represent that a fight had happened, you could make a bunch of crazy shapes in the snow and it'd be like, oh, something happened here.
Yeah, that's cool. And so does the snow support different depth? Like, could you have something that was lighter that maybe makes an imprint but doesn't go all the way down? Is that possible, or something we're planning, or?
I think it's certainly possible. Probably one of the more difficult things to do, since we'd probably have to play around with how the collision works. But I guess it sort of depends. In the event that it does, we do add it, I could imagine it working sort of just like for certain objects, we sort of treat the collision differently, like sort of raise the terrain artificially based on a value. Like I said, it's kind of made really easy to add on, so it shouldn't be something that is out of reach necessarily.
Sure. And Guy Crew asked if it would be possible to have a tunnel under the snow with this system.
Tunnel under the snow. I would say it's probably more of like a mapper thing. Like, there's nothing stopping a mapper from doing something like that, but I can't think of at any point would we actually have dynamic snow that you can dig a tunnel through, unless we make some leaps and bounds.
Yeah, that feels like a level of simulation that just isn't going to be in a.
I'll say that like it's not even necessarily that like it's like impossible, but it's something that I don't think would bode well for the performance of the game.
Yeah.
That being said, there's nothing stopping. Like I said, I want to give the artists a lot of flexibility in what they can do with the snow in terms of how they design the level. In reality, there should be nothing stopping them from sort of placing tunnels under the snow and that you can pop out of and then make snow angels in or something.
Sure. Yeah, someone just asked about snow angels. Forge Avid asks if we fear being cancelled, like many other fan projects. We're not too concerned about that. I mean, obviously it's in the back of our minds, but Valve have generally been pretty good with fan games. You know, you look at Black Mesa or Portal Stories, they've been okay with that, so we're optimistic. It would suck if we had to cancel, but we haven't been told that we have to yet, so.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm sure the audience can tell, but a lot of effort has been put into making sure that the snow is as accurate as it can be without really impacting performance. Some of the most fun I've had actually with it is just sort of doing exactly what we've made the system designed to do, sort of like making halfway imprints in the snow and just playing with how just I don't know. Something about it just looks good. I have to give credit to the artist though for providing the sort of artistic layer. All I'm responsible for is just like the actual depth and deepening of the snow and all that. They provided me a very handy material for the actual look of the snow.
Yeah, and I think there's still a lot of work to do, especially in terms of like particles. I guess there's going to be some amount of snow particle effects coming into this.
Someone mentioned grass under the snow. Absolutely possible. In fact, grass would appear if you deepened the snow and it wasn't visible before. Nothing stopping that.
That'd be super cool. One question I've seen quite a lot is about voice acting. We're not at the point where we need voice actors yet, but obviously the old voice actors would be our first choice if they're open to joining the project, or if we're able to get them in some way. But that's to be confirmed. Don't know what's happening there yet. But we'll find good replacements if we can't get them. Parody Poops asks if we'd consider the gravity gun having recoil when launching objects. I'm not sure if they mean like pushing the player back or raising the crosshair, but is that something that the current weapon system can kind of be flexibly tuned to do?
Yeah. As an example, we could just do that right.
For sure, yeah. So they meant pushing the player back. While you're doing that, I'll answer a handful of questions. There was one about whether we're going to give Gordon Freeman a voice. I don't think so.
No, actually, the plan is for me to voice him. I'm Gordon Freeman. Hello.
Amazing. Yes, Roberto, the stream will be uploaded. As soon as it finishes, you should be able to scroll back.
Someone mentioned tessellation for the snow, and a part of the effect, for those technically interested, for the actual deformation itself, it is displacement, Unreal, just standard Unreal displacement with a 1x tessellation modifier. As far as performance of that goes, some of you might be aware it's very easy to sort of scale that at a distance, and that'll work just fine. So.
Awesome. So are you adding this pushback comms?
Yeah, I just noticed that there was an issue preventing accessing prints. So right now.
So if you head in to like modify the code, do you have to wait for it to recompile then?
Yeah, if you modify C++, you have to recompile.
I don't know for the code to compile.
So I think one of the biggest goals of the project, and I think many of you already might be aware of this, but we want to emulate source as best as we can. In fact, almost like one-to-one. There's really nothing stopping Unreal from emulating the exact movement system as source. As far as accelerated backhopping goes, I know we've been talking to speedrunners. Accelerated backhopping is obviously one of the sort of old source bugs that we've intentionally added back. So as far as that goes, you can expect to see that.
Yeah, and if you go and... Sorry, go on.
Just one last thing. We've been working closely with a lot of really experienced speedrunners and things like that to make sure that the system is accurate as possible. And who knows the movement system better than they do? So,
yeah, we really want to make that true to the original and really feel natural. And if you go and look at update 4, we released a gameplay showcase alongside that, where you'll see lovely programmer maps like this one. And in that video, you can see that we've got accelerated backhopping and other.
Yeah. Yeah. While we're on subjects here and all of the code, the custom movement code for replicating source.
Oh, so this is the movement.
Yeah. If I could,
This
I
is
wanna.
directly taken from source. Like, how much can I don't want to say like copy pasted, but like how much can really just be directly ported, and how much is like has to change from going from source to Unreal?
100% of it needs to be changed. We don't really use the code as like a reference to code, the actual logic. Look at what equations they use.
Sure, that makes sense.
I know in a lot of places there are values that are very like honed in, just sort of like translate from source to sort of have an Unreal works.
Right.
I got to give a big credit to Comms for this one though. This is how long have you been working on this?
Well, it's been like on and off, but like I first started the movement code like around September 2017. That isn't to say that we've been working on it nonstop for like a year. Been probably a total of 30 hours at the most. And if I may, I announce something about the movement system. We're planning to release the movement code in the future as an open source extension to Unreal Engine so that other Unreal developers can take advantage of what we've done, their own game with your style, Quake style movement.
That's awesome. And just to add to that, drop a link in here. While the main game code hasn't been released yet, we have started publishing a bunch of our bits and pieces and scripts and our fork of Unreal Engine 4 over on GitHub. So you can go and check out the Project Borealis organization and see a bunch of the code that we have there already. There's been a couple of questions to kind of talk through some of the movement code. I know you were working on adding that shotgun pushback to test, but I don't know if maybe you could just show even just a few lines of code and just briefly talk about what they do.
Sure. I'll do the AVH code.
You might just need to zoom the text in a little bit if possible so that we can see
Yeah.
it fully. Cool.
Okay, so here at AVH code. So here, basically, when this happens every time you jump, and it checks, are we on the ladder? If so, push ourselves backwards. If we're in no clip, then fly upward. But otherwise, we do the default walk code. The first thing it does is gets the direction the player is facing, and then gets the input speed. And this is really important because this is what causes H right here. So basically, instead of like getting your current velocity direction, it gets your input. So that's how it gets confused when you start going backwards and thinks you're going forward. And multiply it by our max acceleration, which is equivalent to CL forward speed in reverse. And then take the dot product, I believe, and the dot product between our input vector and the direction we're facing creates a projection of input direction onto the facing direction. So it basically measures the extent to which the input is contributing to the forward direction. And that gets us our forward. And then the boost is adjusted based on if you're crouching. So if you're crouched, the boost is 10% of speed. And if you're walking, 150. So then we get how much speed to add based on how much speed we already have, and then how much we need to boost. And then get the maximum speed that we can boost to, which is maximum plus the boost fraction. So for example, when you're crouching, boosted speed is lower, which is why people crouch when they AVH, because it reduces to 110% of 150. And then get the speed that we want to go. So that's going to be how much we're adding plus our speed, which is our velocity. And we have some extra stuff here, which I'll explain. And then gets like to the actual part that really applies the AVH boost. So this checks if our new speed, which is our current speed, plus the speed that we're adding, is over the speed. And if so, it reduces new speed by limit that we're going over. And here is a check to properly apply the boost in the correct direction. If you're going back, have a check here, which basically gets our current velocity. And then we check if our current velocity is lower than the boost speed. And this isn't in Half-Life 2, but we added it so that bunny hopping, for example, the one that you see CSGO, is allowed because a side effect of AVH is that it also slows down normal bunny hopping beats. So if the jump boost speed is actually going to make us go faster, then it's applied as the velocity.
That's really cool. I'm seeing a lot of excitement in chat for speedrunning the game, and a bunch of people saying that Desync's going to have some fun jumping through these levels. Thanks for sharing that. We had some other questions about speedrunning technique, in particular, if there will be prop flying in the game.
No, because prop flying isn't in episode 2, at least. It's barely in episode 2. And Valve kind of got rid of it in Portal 2 completely. And the reason why that is that prop flying impacts normal gameplay, especially for larger objects. Because if you have a large object and you're trying to pick it up, you'll probably accidentally start prop flying.
Cool. Yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the sort of the general idea with these sorts of things is that we add them in if they were still in the game in episode 2, and if they don't like break anything.
Yeah, that's the general thing that we're going for. We also kind of look at trends that Valve has been doing through the episodes. So like, if we see that they incrementally improved a feature from one episode to the next, okay, that allows us some room to adjust if we think that it's better and our fans think it's better.
Sure, that makes sense. So, did you manage to fix the issue that was stopping you adding that shotgun knockback?
Probably.
While Comms is doing that, Kilowatt, there were some questions about whether we are adding surfing. I don't know if you could talk at all about that.
About
I can.
surfing?
Yeah, or Comms. I just didn't want to distract you anymore.
Don't want to spoil.
Okay, you don't have to say anything.
But their surfing update.
Ooh. You have to wait and see. Aluman asks if we talked with Valve before making this game. We sent them a bunch of messages right when we started, and they mostly ignored us. And I don't blame them, because we were just some group of community, Half-Life fans saying like, "Hey, we're gonna make this game," and they must get messages like that every day. So we haven't spoken to them, but when we have a bit more to show off, we're going to try and speak to them again, and hopefully we can get a bit further with them then, and maybe officially get their blessing. That would be nice. So do you want to talk through a little bit what you're doing here, Comms?
Yeah, so basically I added a blueprint function to basically started. So, but before I did that, created a custom blueprint. And just so everyone knows, haven't tested this ever, so it might not.
That's programming for you. Gotta test things. On this topic, and tell me to shut up if I'm just distracting you from actually working. But some people have asked about like whether we're using all C++ or whether we're using blueprints too. Could you explain like what blueprints even are and if we're using them?
Well, blueprints are basically Unreal's visual system for customized program code. And we don't use the code part that much because we prefer to do everything in C++ because it's easier to get exactly what you want and there's better performance. But for experimentation, stuff like that, we print sometime and then we convert it to C++. If performance requires it, if it's like super simple, we'll just leave blueprint. For example, in controller, of this very simple function, basically enables HDR support if it's supported, and it's only like 2 nodes here, so don't really convert.
Sure, that makes sense.
But for something that's going to be happening very often, like a weapon fire function, definitely convert that to C++.
Yeah. I'll let you finish the shotgun thing now. Let me see. Do you guys have any questions for us about the project or about programming in particular? Happy to answer some while we let comms play around with the shotgun. How many people are working on the mod? We have, and I always get the number wrong because it keeps going up, but I think we're at 80 people in total on the project. And that includes, people who are maybe taking time out or only contribute a little bit of time. So it's a real mix of people. While comms is working, Kilowatt, when did you join the team? How did you join the team? What's your time on the project been like?
I think I joined. I think it was May 2018. Does that sound right, comms? Either way, I don't know. It's been pretty fun. I mean, I've worked on a lot of various things. I don't remember the exact first thing I worked on. I worked on the HUD, obviously the snow, the save system. It's a lot to go through.
Yeah, no, I didn't necessarily mean to recount every detail.
No. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say though is, I think it's been fairly valuable. Just I feel a lot more comfortable in Unreal now. In particular, just with getting real down low with the engine. I mean, without necessarily editing the engine itself, but like playing with things like different rendering features in code specifically outside of like those pretty standard material domain or just blueprints.
Yeah.
For example, the snow system is completely C++. So
Unfortunately, as I said, this was the first time that we have tried to use blueprints to implement weapon code. Looks like it isn't working at the moment, but it will definitely solve that eventually. But unfortunately, I can't implement it for you guys.
No problem. We'll maybe we'll have some stuff to show in update 5 to make up for it. We are gonna wrap up the stream there, I think. Thank you everyone for joining us. Hope you found this interesting, learned a bit about what we've been doing on the project, and sorry if we didn't get to your question, but I hope we answered a fair amount of them. As always, if you have questions for us, you can join us on Discord and ask any questions you've got. Let us know what you want to see in the game. Let us know what you thought about what we've been doing. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, I guess, and follow our work there and on Twitter, and we post all over the place. But thank you for joining us. Let us know in the chat if there's something else you want to see at the next development stream, or more things you want us to share from the game, and I'll see what I can do. But thanks for joining me, guys. This was fun.